Welcome, everyone. I am so delighted to welcome everyone from the herd community. We're right at the start of the hour. We're just going to wait another minute or two as we wait for folks to trickle in. My name is Michelle Kane. I'm from Herd. I'm so delighted to be joining our friends here at Zencare, where we're going to learn a lot about how to grow your practice as the landscape changes for us digitally. So we'll just wait another minute or two as we all join. Well, I know we are seeing more folks joining us today. As I mentioned, my name is Michelle. I'm from Herd. I'm so delighted to be joining all of you today and our friends here at Zencare. So I'm going to kick it off to Michelle Dowling. Thank you so much for inviting the Herd community here. We're so delighted and excited to learn more.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Growing Your Practice as Search Changes, a directory profile guide for therapists, and a co-production with our partner, Herd, and we're so glad you're here. So let's dive in. We're going to talk a little bit about webinar housekeeping, just so everyone knows that you're currently muted, not on camera, so that you don't need to worry about taking any notes. You can just sit back and relax and listen in. We are recording this session, so we will email you that and a profile guide at the very end of the recording. So to everyone who registered, even those who can't maybe have attended live, but please feel free to use the chat to ask questions. We'll have a live Q&A at the end to discuss anything else you'd like to cover. As an introduction, I'm Michelle Dowling, CMO here at Zencare, and I am joined by my colleague, Stephanie Giottavi, our Director of Sales and Customer Success. And we're both looking forward to talking with you today about how to get your practice found. A little bit before that, we just wanted to mention who we are at Zencare. A little context. We have been connecting therapy seekers with therapists for over 10 years. And one thing I recently learned that the word Zencare was derived from and how the company was named was it means care for all. And we embrace that every day. In the last year, we have connected over 100,000 therapy seekers with therapists. Seeing those client matches happen every single day for our over 6,000 active therapists on our directory. How we came together with Herd really was derived from a survey that they did probably late 2025. They talked to about 500 therapists about what they had spent marketing dollars on within the last year and how it impacted their revenue. Zencare came out on top among paid directories. Our users saw the most above baseline revenue growth at 6% year over year. We wanted to take the opportunity to explain that, and it starts with your profile. So we'll be diving deep into that because our results show that a well-built profile goes beyond just visibility. It's tied directly to revenue growth. So this is what we're going to cover today. First, we'll start with visibility and discuss exactly how search has changed and why you need to know how to get found in both traditional and AI search. Then we'll talk about those two ways of searches that find you. And from there, Stephanie will go field by field through the profile and how easy it can be to update and actually see impact of just how an optimized profile will be on your practice. So as I mentioned, I'm in marketing, and I think the single most thing I hear about every day is AI and how we are responding to that. So let's ground ourselves in data a little bit and just really think about how fast this shift has happened. Search changed more in the last 24 months than in the decade that preceded it. And what that really means is if you even go back and think about the last time you searched for something, even if you were just looking up something to buy, if you're looking for a specific item, taking a vacation, the way you searched this year is very different than the way you searched last year. So, for instance, did you go to Google? Did you launch your little Chrome icon on your phone? Or did you go to ChatGPT or Copilot or some other AI assistant? Even just thinking about the last time you did maybe the last two or three searches can indicate this big shift that we keep seeing. So today, 1 in 7 Google searches now surface an AI overview. So what that means is when you type something into Google, if that's the way you go to search, you'll see it think and it will serve up what is considered an AI overview. It's giving you an answer before it's listing websites. We call that zero clicks in marketing, meaning that it doesn't even result in someone clicking out to a site. If you think about that impact, that means we are reducing the number of clicks and that forward movement then changes. ChatGPT alone is seeing 800 million weekly additional users, and that number continues to climb. So this is the backdrop of everything that we want to talk about today, because the old rules for getting found are changing so quickly. And this shift in behavior means that your profile needs to work for both traditional search and AI search. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means on this slide. The way I like to think about them, I like to simplify things. A traditional search, i.e. Google, is almost considered an answer engine, whereas AI search, is a search engine, whereas AI search is an answer engine. These are different ways that people go through the search and what happens. So as I mentioned, if you are looking for an item, let's just say best coffee maker, search engines will look at the search query. It's usually 1 or 2 words called keywords, and then it will serve up specific websites, right? That you could scroll through, you'd browse, you might click out and go back. And ultimately, you, the user, had to form a conclusion. Which coffee maker do I want to buy? In AI search, things are now replaced by a question, a thought, a sentence. It's more explicit, but it has more context. In that example, it would be, I'm having a 50th birthday party. I need a new coffee maker for the event with approximately 100 guests. AI looks at all of that information, scours the entire internet looking for signals or sources. It looks at things like reviews, top 10 lists, content, and then it reads all of that in context of the ask, compiles the results, and serves up an answer that it believes fits the best. I've also heard AI called a research partner, which is very, very relevant to how people look and search for the things that they need. So when you're weighing options and you need help with decision making, this research partner is helpful. So the bottom line is that AI is and will replace traditional search. So the way people are looking and searching and the way they're asking for it now is very different. So how do you get found in Google search? Because right now it is a game of both. I love this saying, be complete, be specific, be consistent, and be current, because it does sound like a lot, but in reality, it is the way forward for us as people who are in business and rely on this type of traction and traffic to fill our caseloads and to run our businesses. So this path forward does involve some overlap. We created this diagram to show how traditional SEO or traditional search, SEO just means search engine optimization, have similarities and how they differ. In traditional SEO, it's governed by phrases or keywords, as we talked about, and about what the experience people have had with you. In AI search, similarly, what your website and what your reviews say is part of what it looks for, but it goes further. It looks at directories, it looks at social media, it will look at community forums that you may participate in. This is when content becomes very important because AI search is looking for consistent signals across all of these components and current signals. So things that are fresh. Your website and your and reviews do a lot of the heavy lifting here. But most importantly, these two pieces combined is what allows your practice to be found. The website, it acts as a hub. So if you think about this website, all of these pieces touch it, and all of the sources that support your website need to feel consistent in that look and feel. And Stephanie will talk about this as well. But that current and refreshed aspect is very strong when it comes to AI signals. Let's use a real life example of how this looks. We'll take Walmart, for example. Recently, they made a decision to make sure that everyone would see a consistent shopping experience no matter what location they were in their physical stores. They did that, and I know they're rolling that out now. But if you were also go online and be on their app or their website, everything looks and feels similar. This is just the way that a physical store mirrors what AI is also looking for is these components create trust signals. Trust signals are what therapy seekers are looking for in your profile, in your website, and across all of your digital touch points. And there's a little bit more to come on that in the next section. One of the things that we talk a lot about in marketing is how the writing has to work to sound human and also be picked up in AI. We believe that content, in a lot of ways, is this connection between who you are and what you offer. Your profile will also ground you there, but the things that you may say, may participate in, or may create also is part of being found in traditional and AI search. So, a few things to think about when you're writing to get picked up in both areas is to lead with answers, meaning being very specific on who you are, who you help, what you offer, allows both humans that are skimming, because we're all prone to right now being very quick reads, and AI is finding and summarizing things in very, very, very quick motions as well. Second, using specific and verifiable facts. So verifiable is a really important word here. It goes back to trust signals and it goes back to all those touch points, because what it is looking for is these constant handshakes. It is important for us to think about the way we put information out into the internet so that it's specific. But if you were to read this, a licensed clinical social worker in Chelsea, New York City, with 7 years experience treating anxiety in network with Aetna, versus something that's maybe more close to our heart, right? Experienced compassionate therapists will least likely get picked up through AI. It is looking for these signals of these facts. And third, as I mentioned, keeping that consistency, making sure your profile and your website and any other digital signatures, digital assets, all tell the same story, even down to small details that you may feel like aren't important, like the word street versus the abbreviation. These types of cross references that AI models do look for these types of details. It reinforces who you say that you are, and those facts help drive AI. Fourth, signal freshness. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but AI again favors recent content. And I think it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by this, but I have a little bit of a different take on it. And I think it's something that we work on in marketing all the time is the why behind this. People are looking for things every day and needs change. And I would say like influences also change. So keeping things fresh and content that is unique to you and in your area, it might feel heavy, but once you start doing it as a muscle, if you're not a writer today, small pieces of content, small pieces of video really do go a long way here. This is the way AI cannot replicate the human voice. It means the most when it's coming from a person, but also matches these digital assets that are out there about you. Couple things that we've seen over the years that we've been doing this that we wanted to share as ways to avoid when you're creating content or when you're putting things out there about yourself and you might not know as the person, you might feel like you're sharing something, but sometimes these are the things that either create people to pause or makes it a little bit confusing. So opening with questions like feeling stuck. It's a Sometimes it's one of those things that sound provocative, but actually doesn't really do a lot of heavy work. It just creates, well, if I'm not feeling stuck, then I'm going to move on. So leading with your skills and what you're actually passionate about help tell people who are seeking therapy who you are. This every a lot of healthcare uses a ton of jargons and acronyms, and it can be overwhelming to first-time seekers. So using simple language makes it a little bit easier for people to bridge that gap and not feel a little bit unsure about reaching out. uh, it's so easy to want to cover all the bases. I know in marketing, so many times we want to try to cover everything so nothing gets left unsaid or undone. But leaning into your specifics, it definitely reads as more genuine and more clear. It helps draw in those prospective clients that resonate with your passions. In the same note of freshness, sometimes we've seen that there's a quick disappointment if things are out of date, when things are on a website but actually don't reflect what's current, meaning if maybe you've transitioned from an in-office practice to a virtual practice, if you've changed your hours, if you have done something significant that would cause people to feel confused as they reach out to you. We see that as a challenge. And then, believe it or not, voicemail is a lot of times the way people have been used to doing business. And today, what we're seeing is that people are looking for options. They like online availability. They like to be able to send a text or they like to be able to go out and schedule online. So, just wanted to bring those few things up to the forefront on what we have seen in our therapy seekers experience. This wraps up our section on how search has changed and ways that you can ensure you and your practice will be found online. I'm going to transition this over to Stephanie to talk a little bit more about therapist profiles.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Steph.
much, Michelle. And hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Again, my name is Stephanie. I'm one of the directors here at Zencare. So now we'll kind of talk more about the profile itself. So as Michelle had alluded to earlier, we really want your profile to be your storefront. And what we mean by this is, as we all know, first impressions matter so much. And so when we're thinking about building out our profile from the beginning, it's important to think about, as Michelle alluded to, the way in which people are searching for you. And so thinking about that, searches are pulling the main, what we call check boxes of a profile. So specialties, insurances, which ones you take, which ones you don't take, your locations, and several other fields that we'll get into as well. But the importance here is that all fields are filled out as effectively and holistically as possible, because that will just create a larger funnel to have therapy seekers find your profile. So some things that I'd like to call out, and as Michelle mentioned earlier, we've done a lot of research on profile success over the last few years, coupled with how people today are searching on Google and using AI. So we want to make sure that you're talking to your clients with a warm, welcoming, and true to yourself tone. So that may look and feel a little bit. Oh, if someone
Oh,
could go
sorry.
back, that's okay. If if that means, your tone may feel different than some other people's tones, the importance there is that it's resonating with the type of therapy seekers that you're looking for. And so there is this authenticity piece that we really want every provider to think about as they're writing different aspects of their profile. And again, back to it just being true to your voice, I think is really where it stands above the rest. We also want to make sure that you highlight what makes your specialties and approach uniquely yours. So similarly to how I was speaking about with just the initial opening messages in your profile, with specialties specifically, it's so important to tie in what you specialize in and where you are seeing the most clients, and what that kind of looks like. Again, back to it being unique to yourself, but really driving home for other therapy seekers what you specialize in and what they're looking for. We also, and I'll talk a little bit more about the importance of this, but high resolution photos and eye-catching first lines that make people want to reach out is so, so, so important. We'll talk about videos as well, but we want it to be eye-catching. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll notice that this is an example profile that even as you look at it, really catches your eye. Jessica comes off very personable, happy, excited, and then the video will just further tailor to her personality, the different types of approaches and styles she has, and if that would resonate and be a good fit for you. And so overall, this is a great just example profile. We have many on Zencare, but this is something we all want our providers to strive towards just because it really does have every piece of the profile checked. And by the end of reading through Jessica's profile, we really get a sense of what she does, what she specializes in, and who she's looking to attract. Next slide. Okay, so why the profile, and what does this mean for providers as they're building this out? So number one, you're going to appear in more searches. As Michelle mentioned earlier, just between Google and human searches and the way in which we're operating today when we're looking for providers, you want to appear in more searches, right? And that's so important. So whether it's you showing up in more searches through zip codes and insurances, a lot of people have specific insurances that they, want to filter through, or maybe they're out of pocket, right? And so there's a whole nother world where that's how therapists are working as well, just, cash customers. And so you can filter through that too. Number two, driving more profile views in general. So not just appearing in more searches, but then actually having them land on your profile page, to read through your specialties, your location, your insurances, the hours in which you operate, and then again, the photo and video that really does stand above the rest. Um, and then after, they're viewing your profile, we then track and help you get those referrals. So referrals is big because there are several different ways that people set up profiles today. It could either be through a phone call. So there could be a button that you set up that says, here's the phone number that we want you to call, and we can set up an initial consultation. It could be book an appointment, and then it could take them to a different page that, they want to have their therapy seekers go to book on a different booking page. It could be an initial calendar that actually allows you to choose times and appointment slots, and then immediately book through that. So with this variety of booking options, it allows you to attract more referrals and then have them finish the steps, which is ultimately our goal of setting up an actual successful appointment. And so that's where it leads me into number four, booking with the client. So again, getting the referrals and then moving through to an actual booking is ultimately the end goal for you and for us, connecting the right therapy seekers with the right providers and making sure that's a solid match from the beginning. All of this drives a better outcome for us all. Next slide. Okay, so one area that I did want to focus with you all on is the professional statement. This has been a field, I would say, that is underutilized overall. And when I think about that first impression when you're going onto a profile, if I was a therapy seeker, what I'm looking for is the mission, the professional statement, and your message to clients. And so this whole idea of authenticity and it being uniquely you is really, again, where we're hoping you land. And again, we'll catch therapy seekers' attention from the beginning. So how you do that is specialties and clientele. So you want to call out common concerns. Who do you work with, and what are they struggling with when they arrive, and how you tend to handle those scenarios in your own way. Treatment approach. This is another really important one that we really help our newer customers work through when they're filling out their treatment approach. Indicate your modality and translate that to what it exactly it helps uncover. So we have this here, this example, CBT becomes learning to interrupt unhelpful thought patterns. And so really just making sure it's very consistent to what you do, and then also being as specific as possible so that it's very, very clear for that person looking that this is what you stand for and where you can help. And then therapeutic style. So are you a listener, or are you more active in your approach? Do you give homework, or you leave it more open-ended where it's an open dialogue conversation in the beginning? All of this is really important to include in your professional statement and message to clients. One, because there may be certain therapy seekers not looking for that style or approach, and then others that, separately are. What do clients say your sessions look like? So we find a lot of times that even just from the reviews that therapists will receive, maybe their reviews are calling out things that they've loved about that provider. And then the provider will then update their profile to include those things because, again, it's making them the unique, call out and specialty that they have and where they really hit home with some of these therapy seekers. So we see them a lot of times updating based on their reviews to help drive, again, that uniqueness that we're looking for. And then experience and logistics. Obviously, this goes without saying, but how many years of experience do you have? What training have you done, or are you currently doing or pursuing in the future? All this training will help shape how you practice, plus the essentials, where, when, telehealth, and access. That again just allows you to have a very comprehensive profile that's well filled out and well thought through. Next slide.
There we go.
So when it comes to specialties, we want you to lead with one or two high volume specialties that you treat. So obviously it's important to have all of them, but you want to start with the ones that you find most therapy seekers are looking for when they've booked with you in the past. I've listed a few here as examples, but again, the longer the list, the better, because again, you're going to appear in more searches, but starting at the top with your most important or, utilized specialties, I think is really what matters as well. And so you want to start with that. Adding one or two distinctive to you topics. So that could be, the examples we have here or others, but there's just this also additional component of adding, unique ones that maybe you don't see a lot of times therapists have that will make you stand out in a lot of searches as well. And then a sanity check. So your top three should reflect the majority of who you see now. As I mentioned earlier, you always want to kind of take a step back and do a recap of your current customer or your current clients and what they're looking for, whether it's anxiety, couples counseling. If you're finding that a lot of them are in this same kind of similar grouping, that's an important piece to call out because clearly you're attracting them and that becomes your specialty as well. And so anyway, there's just like a good opportunity for everyone to always do like a step back recap and check to see where they're currently at today and making sure that it reflects and is consistent with the way you run your business today. And then if you're not sure, look at recent cases. So as I believe Michelle mentioned earlier, looking back at recent cases, recent reviews that you received from your existing clients, what are they saying about you? That is important to include in a profile just because, again, you may not even realize that you're doing something super, super well, but your clients are. And so there's just another layer of that feeds nicely into a profile to just really build out the way you operate. We have an example on the right as well, just for additional reference. Next slide. Okay, so this is definitely my favorite slide, and it's my favorite slide because it's the most important and something that at times can be underutilized. So you'll notice on the right, the stat, you are 4 times more likely to be contacted when you have a video on your profile and even multiple pictures. This is so, so important and again, overlooked at times. A lot of times we find across all, not just with Zencare, but when we're even as therapy seekers looking for a therapist, that pictures are and videos are underutilized, right? It may just be that one therapist only had a chance to upload one photo just to kind of get the bare bones profile built. But it does do an injustice to, their profile themselves and also just like helping build that relationship before you ever meet them. And so I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to add as many pictures as possible. We also have found, and this is just like a little fun tidbit, that, whether it's a group practice or even just someone who works in an office, that even having pictures of the office, we found and heard from therapy seekers that that's removed so many additional kind of concerns or a nervousness when they know exactly where they're going before they go there. So it could be that, it's a picture of their office. It could be a picture of maybe they bring their dog to the office. And so, dog lovers naturally, unite with that concept and get excited that, they're also dog friendly. We've seen a lot of really fun, profiles that just tie into the personalization of the in-person, meet. And so anyway, I think that's another thing we encourage is just not just pictures of yourself, but also of like where they would be going to really remove that nervousness or even just build trust before they even meet you. We have a few things listed here as well, just to keep in mind. Smiling and facing the camera directly go above and beyond what you would initially think. I know it sounds so like standard, but this is just something that, again, makes a world of difference, right? And it's not that if you're not looking at the picture or at the camera, it does a complete disservice, but it definitely brings, again, back that trust and connection without you even realizing it, that, really does make a difference. Well lit, in focus, high resolution, rooms and pictures go a long way as well. A professional setting, of course, we want to make sure that, they're every therapy seeker is looking for, the best fit and most professional therapist and really someone who aligns with what they're looking for. So making sure that feels that way in your pictures. Um, and then again, as I mentioned, and just I think the overarching theme with, this presentation is not just setting it and forgetting it, revisiting whether it's quarterly or annually, your profile. Everyone changes. Seasons change, people change, styles change. And so it's so important that you are consistently reviewing your profile and making edits along the way. So if it's a picture that, you need to re-upload because you've, change your hairstyle or anything, that does really do a big difference. And so anyway, these are some tips and tricks just that we've noticed that really do allow for more referrals and profile views when this is a focus area. Next slide. Okay. So just to recap and summarize some of the things I went over, and there are so many fields on the profile that, I didn't spend a lot of time going over. We'll talk about the checklist that we'll be sending all of you afterwards, but this is a good recap of some of the things I talked about that make, I would say, the biggest difference on a profile and what we found even data-wise that drives different behavior and an uptick in referrals across our profiles now. So checking every filter box that genuinely applies. So specialties, approaches, clientele, locations, and insurance. Insurance is always a big piece. Making sure your top specialties reflect the majority of who you see now and are consistent, right? So if you're on multiple directories, making sure that that just, is consistent across all of them, adding or refreshing not even just your photo and video, but everything, right? Again, so if you've shifted to just cash payment or cash customers versus, insurance, that's a big thing that can get confusing if not updated, immediately. So things like that just go a long way. And then I cannot emphasize enough the professional statement. I know we talked about that, but this 3 to 4 paragraph structure, I say 3 to 4 paragraphs because sometimes we find that there's just a few sentences on a professional statement or message to clients, and there's so much that you should be talking about and getting excited about as you talk about how you run your practice and how you meet initially with your clients today that can be said and heard and felt through those initial paragraphs. So we want to encourage not just a few sentences, but really that 3 to 4 paragraph goal. Aligning your name, credentials, and contact details across every listing as you appear. I mentioned that earlier. And then setting a quarterly reminder to revisit your profile. If it can't be quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, would go a long, long way as well. Next slide. So this is a really, really exciting, I would say, new news as of the last few weeks. So as I mentioned earlier, we have many ways today how you can have the call to action essentially once someone reaches your profile, right? So it could be a phone number, it could be a booking link, or it could be a pre-filled out calendar with blockings of openings that you can have, your therapy seekers book. However, there's still steps after that, after they leave Zencare, whether it's a phone call to see how that went, did it ever transfer into a true conversion or not? All of those things kind of leave the Zencare realm, I should say. And we wanted to help make that process as seamless as possible for the clients and also for you all as providers. And so what we did just a few weeks ago was we just launched our Google Calendar sync, our two-way Google Calendar sync, I should say. And what this means is you can actually now have it set up to your Google Calendar. We have other calendars coming, so Outlook and others, but we started with the Google Calendar just a few weeks ago. And if you have this, when you're building your profile, you can now in real time connect your Google Calendar to the Zencare profile. So instead of them having predefined time slots and there being duplicativeness or confusion because it didn't naturally sync to your other calendar, it now can. This removes clicks, this removes drop-offs, this removes redundancy, and allows you to ensure that everyone who's reaching your profile that is interested and clicks that link or clicks that booking are booking officially through you. We've just found that there's a drop off after there's, a phone call or a link out to another website. Again, any other additional step is going to naturally create a drop off or a hesitation from the therapy seeker. And with this new release from our product team just a few weeks ago, this is now a non-issue. So a lot of our competitors have not gotten here yet. We are so proud and so excited that this is officially launched and a large, large number of our customers have already taken advantage of it. It's a few minute thing that it takes just to kind of flip a switch and authenticate between your Google Calendar and then this profile. And again, does a large is just a very large, differentiator for us and in the market of getting the therapy seekers that have been on your page to book and finish that process. So very exciting stuff, and it's something we're really proud of. Next slide. And then just to wrap everything up, we have so many, good reviews from our customers, both clients and customers. And I just, wanted to list a few here, but, not only are they excited about what it's done for their practice and helped build their caseload, but now with this new Google Calendar sync, it's really just allowed for a seamless experience for everyone to connect them as soon as possible. Oftentimes I know, you all probably experience this, but therapy seekers are looking for help, pretty urgently at times. And so just to make that process as easy as possible and quick, we want to help that in whatever way we can. So anyway, really excited about some of these recent reviews and just the wildly successful calendar sync that we've launched. We're excited for what's to come. So, without further ado, this QR code, I would highly recommend that you open your phone and take a few minutes to scan this QR code. Anyone who signs up for the annual plan gets 15% off the entire year. We are, so excited that you all have been able to attend today and just have nothing but good things to say about what our customers are seeing, what we've been doing, what's still coming from a product perspective through the rest of this year. You'll notice on the left-hand side, you keep 100% of your session fees. That's something we're very proud of as well. Promoting your practice across every state and zip code you serve, and then ultimately just showcasing your practice and helping you fill your caseload as quickly and effectively as possible. And then we have the Join Herd link below as well because we've loved working with the Herd team. And thank you again, Michelle, for letting us be a part of this. I'll hand it back over to Michelle for the last few slides.
Awesome. Well, we've been watching we're always watching the search, watching the Q&A. So open now for any questions that you may have. Please feel free to put those questions in there. We'll be happy to talk about them live. There was one that was in the earlier part of the chat on my section about search that I thought would be really important for us to discuss as a group. I'm going to read and give you the gist of it, but essentially, she was trying to confirm that when we say you should use consistency across all methodologies, all platforms, versus being like a copy paste and using pre-existing statements as a starting point, but not using the word for word content, as Google may I want to say like hide duplicate content. It can seem very contradictory, and this is a really important distinction. So I want to make sure that when I say consistency is everything, that I mean in regard to facts and core information about you as a provider. So facts like your name, your credentials, specialty, location, availability. Those are the things that need to be consistent. That should absolutely remain the same. This is where SEO can be a little bit tricky, and it comes in the actual language used to describe those things. We don't want every web page to sound and look the same. We don't want to copy paste web pages that is about the content. We want that to feel unique. Facts should be consistent. Content should be unique. So if that helps differentiate the distinction there, I just wanted to make sure that we touched on that because I think it's really important that you don't feel confused when we say things like, well, make sure that your web pages are dynamic versus your location and those specific things about you remain consistent. So that was an excellent question. Thank you so much for the folks who are putting in questions, Stephanie. We have a few, if you're able to open up the Q&A. There was another that I thought was really important that is about virtual providers and should you have virtual backgrounds and what you should put out there for yourself. And what I would say is everyone reacts to things differently, and they might have different feelings about that content's behind you. They might make judgments. So I think something that's neutralized is always going to be the best bet, and making sure that it's, again, consistent from if you use your pictures about you, and that is the way you show up in the session, that neutrality can certainly help dial any noise or make anything that would be potentially just, I would say, like an attention grabbing. So I would probably avoid anything like that. I want to make sure that we've got any questions in the chat going. One for you, Stephanie, if maybe you could provide a little clarification about BAAs and information that we look at, or should we can take that offline either way.
Yeah, we do not sign a BAA with clinicians, but we do, yeah, we can take this one offline and answer directly with, it looks like it's Karen. So yeah, Karen, thanks for the question. We can definitely reach out to you directly on this.
Awesome, thank you. There's a question about Zencare promoting its listing. And yes, absolutely. We do a ton of paid search, paid ads, and amplification to support our therapists on the directory, making sure that we are able to present the directory as a way for therapy seekers to make their match. And then, is there a recommended app or device to use when creating a video? I don't know, Stephanie, if you've come across anything that is recommended.
Yeah, there is recommendations that our photography team does help you through once you just kind of submit a ticket and say, you're ready for the video piece. But we have a team that walks you through every step of that. And so, yes, we would be happy to work with you directly on what makes the most sense. There's a few options, though.
Awesome, thank you.
And then for how do I enable the two-way calendar sync, the link leads? Yeah, so there's a video that we can post in this chat that has been released as part of the release. And so anyway, I can make sure to include that as a follow-up. Great question.
Some. I'm going to answer this one is how does Zencare differ from psychology today? I love this question. I ask, I think this is a really important and ask is, I think the biggest difference is all the content we just discussed about the profile and about how we want to make sure that you have every opportunity to showcase your entire uh, offering, yourself, your profile, your specialties, your calendar. So that depth is what I feel makes it unique. And that is what helps us to be able to live by the fact that we believe these therapy matches are high quality. And that is what we strive for here. Stephanie, if you would add anything else, but that's what I feel like is the most important difference.
Absolutely. Nope, I agree.
Jennifer, yes, if you the QR code went to the Herd site, that makes sense. If you'd like to go to Zencare.co as well, you can get more information there. And then lastly, I think this one might be best covered in a Zencare consultation. But yes, we definitely can talk to you a little bit about Zencare versus some of our competitors. And there's a few packages out there for cost. So we have, again, happy to talk through it and happy to show you what's on the website. Excellent. I think we've covered all of the Q&A. One thing that we'd like to provide to you all as a thank you and as part of the recording is a PDF document about the things that we've talked about. Very easy to read. I will be sending that out after this. And again, it's just something that you can keep hold of, take a look at and make sure that, if you didn't get a chance to review you don't need to listen to the whole video, you have it in a written format or in a PDF format for yourself. All right, I am going to put a link in the chat for if you'd like to connect with someone and book a meeting and talk a little bit more about everything that you've heard here. I'll put that in there now. We would love to hear from you and we would love to meet with you. And just as a closing note and as a fellow marketer, we really do believe that the content that we shape truly does express the brand, your profile, your practice. And in today's webinar, we know we really emphasize that consistency and that content freshness. That unique voice and that unique expression that we put out into the world is meant to be found by someone looking for your specific expertise and your specific experience. And to us at Zencare, that's what means the most, that connection, that match. I want to thank you so much for being here today. We know your time is so valuable, and we really do appreciate it and look forward to talking with you again. Thank you so much for all that you do and look forward to speaking with you again. And thank you to our friends at Herd. Have a great day.